I'm Ted McNulty. I'm the Director of Aquaculture for the Arkansas Agriculture Department. And first thing I want to do today is to recognize Chancellor Johnson for him to give us a welcome to UAPB.
Thank you, Ted. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
On behalf of the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, it is my honor and privilege to extend to you greetings and to say welcome to our campus. We are excited about what's going on here today. I would like to say to Dr. Garner, Dr. Engel, and all of the Aquaculture Fisheries staff, and to the producers, and to all of our friends and congressmen, we are happy to have you here with us today. This makes it a very special occasion, so we're happy to have you here. Happy to have all of you here. I was thinking, as I was saying, what might I talk about, and something said to me that first of all you need to tell people why you were out here early this morning looking for some catfish, but actually my schedule just got a little mixed up, but I was very happy to interact with some of you earlier this morning, and happy to have you here today. We're just happy to show off. You know, we're sort of like a turkey in a barnyard. We're just happy to show off what we have here today in terms of our research ponds and all of the activities that's being conducted on behalf of aquaculture. I also want to say and take this opportunity to say to the catfish farmers, producers, and the officers how much we appreciate your support for what we're doing here. Thank you for your support for the aquaculture program and the PhD program. We could not have done that without your support. So give yourself a hand for that kind of support. We thank you for that. You know, one thing, and then I will sit down because I understand I was just supposed to do a welcome. But you know, catfish farming is addictive, Ted. You know, I'm a catfish farmer, believe it or not. I have a small pond at home. I have some catfish in it. And since for the last 3 months, I have fun with my catfish. And you know, they miss me. Because I know they miss me because every time I walk out there with a bucket of food, I can see them coming to greet me. But at least we don't have to argue about anything. You know, I give them some food and they just show me how happy they are. They're turning up and eating food, and I enjoy the watching them. You know, I have a couple in the pond that I really wanted to give a name to, but I was scared to do that, Art, because just as sure as I did that, somebody was going to come by there and catch them, and then we would have a problem. So I say all that to say what you do is very, very important, and I also believe and know that what the research that's going on here will be very helpful to you. So we thank you for coming, thank you for joining us, and thank you for the opportunity to partner with you in terms of the task that you have. We all understand the challenge that you're facing regarding food costs for fish, and those of you that's in the bait fish business, we appreciate what you do. So just say thank you to all of you and what you do. And let me, before I forget it, and I know there will be some introduction, but I want to recognize two of the vice chancellors from the university, Ms. Pauline Thomas and Mr. Elba Bennett. Would you just raise your hand? Thank you for being here. And my friend Diane, you and your group, thank you for being here. The lead our group, thank you. So with that said, we look forward to a wonderful program, and again, just say thank you for being here.
Thank you. Next, I was going to start on my right here, talk about some people that are here from the National Aquaculture Association, but I happened to look to my left and saw my boss had come in. So I'm going to start over there on that side. Y'all right the way. The Secretary of Agriculture for the state of Arkansas, Butch Calhoun.
But it's always a pleasure to be down there. I appreciate what y'all do, and it's always good to be with the Congressman, Dr. Johnson. I appreciate y'all very much.
I also want to recognize the Deputy Secretary, Cynthia Edwards. And from the National Aquaculture Association, the President, Mike Freeze. And we have Betsy Hart, Linda De Niro, and Gwen Mary from NAA. Would y'all stand up and be recognized? Linda, did you change your name?
Oh, Journal.
Oh, Jarno, there you go. Okay. Sorry about that. It is a great pleasure for me today to introduce our guest speakers. We had a little snafu on the scheduling, and at the last minute, and the snafu was all on me. I have to take credit for that one. The congressman changed his whole schedule so he could be down here today, and we really appreciate you doing that. Rick Crawford grew up in a military family where his father served in the United States Air Force. During that time, Rick had the opportunity to live all over the United States and overseas. He enlisted in the United States Army, where he served as a bomb disposal technician. He completed 4 years of service, advanced to the rank of sergeant in under 3 years, and earned numerous medals for service in the U.S. and Southwest Asia. After completing his term of service in the Army, he attended Arkansas State University in Jonesboro, graduating in 1966 with a B.S. in agriculture business and economics. Do what?
66. I'm not quite that old.
Oh, what did I say, 66? All right, I'm going to get up for Rodriguez. 1996, excuse me, Rick. Bad day. Yeah.
Here you go.
I need longer arms, honey. Since his graduation, he has been primarily focused on agriculture and agriculture communications and general agribusiness. He's been a news anchor, agri-reporter, and served as a marketing manager for the second largest John Deere dealer group in North America. He is a broadcast council member of the National Association of Farm Broadcasting and a member of the 4-H Foundation Board of Arkansas. Rick has become the first Arkansas State graduate to serve in Congress. He presently serves on the Agriculture Committee and the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee in the 112th Congress. Rick and his wife, Stacy, also an ASU graduate, live in Jonesboro with their 2 children. Congressman Crawford successfully defeated the Hartzler Amendment during the Farm Bill markup by a vote of 25 to 20. The amendment would have put the catfish inspection program back in the hands of FDA and worsened the unlevel playing field that gives China and Vietnam an unfair advantage. The amendment was passed in the Senate, the exact same amendment passed in the Senate unanimously by a voice vote. It was very important that that bill was beat in the House of Representatives, and we have Rick Crawford to thank for that. He also secured a provision in the Farm Bill that includes important reforms to the crop insurance, which allows USDA to develop gross margin insurance policies for aquaculture producers. The insurance product would allow producers to protect against the volatility of rising input costs. He has sent several letters to USDA Secretary Vilsack regarding implementation of the catfish inspection program. One of the letters expressed concerns over the delayed implementation, and another push for support for a stronger and broader definition of catfish in the inspection. This year, Congressman Crawford also sent a letter to EPA Administrator Jackson requesting a waiver for the ethanol portion of the renewable fuel standards. Coupled with the severe drought that we've had, the renewable fuel standards have inflated the price of corn by eating up 45% of the demand. This has had an enormous impact of cost of feed for aquaculture producers, and everybody in this room realizes that. The congressman has also proposed the Renewable Fuel Flexibility Act, which would alter the renewable fuel standards. And his amendment The amount of corn ethanol required for the renewable fuel standards would go in the amount of the U.S. corn supply. It would be flexible. If the law passed, this legislation would have an immediate impact on the price of feed, making it more affordable for our producers. Congressman Crawford is only in his first term in Congress, but he's already shown that he is going to be a very important voice in Washington for all aquaculture producers. So please join me and let's give a warm welcome to Congressman Rick Crawford.
I didn't know whether I ought to correct him on that 1966 thing, 'cause, you know, I'd be holding up pretty good if I graduated in 66. I was actually born in 66, so I'd have been a stellar student if I had accomplished all that at a tender age. But at any rate, I appreciate it. Ted, thank you for the invitation. We're glad we could come. I want to also say a thank you to Dr. Carol Engel, because as Ted indicated, we were very successful in defeating the Hartzler Amendment, but the only way we could have done that was through her hard work and research, the information that she fed us. Where is she? Because she's over there. There she is. Thank you. She did a stellar job. And, you know, we're not through with that. We know that we were successful in beating that back in the Farm Bill markup. But there's a very good likelihood that the Farm Bill is going to come to the floor in November, and there's a good likelihood that that amendment will come up on the floor. And so, again, we have to be prepared and redouble our efforts to make sure that we don't see that amendment pass, because, as Ted illustrated, that would just be devastating for U.S. aquaculture, and it would be a quantum leap backward for our catfish farmers and others. So thank you, Dr. Carol Engel, for your leadership. She does a great job. And it kind of brings me to my point about UAPB and what a wonderful partnership that the aquaculture industry has with UAPB. And it really is a shining example of a public-private partnership that really works. And that's market-based, and it's coming up with solutions to help advance this industry in a productive way. So, again, I applaud the efforts. Dr. Johnson, I appreciate him, and he and I were talking before, and the Hartzler Amendment came up. He said, it's as important what we stop in Washington many times as what we get started, and that's a case in point. It was important that we stop that and continue to make sure that aquaculture producers aren't threatened by unintended consequences of legislation. And so I think there's a good recognition of that. I had some redistricting in this state, and we annexed a little extra. And in the course of that redistricting, the 1st District of Arkansas now accounts for somewhere between 95 and 98% of the aquaculture production in the state of Arkansas. So that's very, very important, and the relationships that we've been able to foster and develop over the last 2 years with respect to aquaculture, very few left. It's very, very important that we get folks on the same sheet of music, and we've got our friends in Alabama and Mississippi. I've got one ally on the committee. She's from Alabama, and she helped tremendously on helping beat back the Hartzler Amendment. But one of the things that I've noticed is over the last 2 years I've been in Washington is not the political divide. We know that exists. But what I've noticed and observed is the geographic divide and the gap that exists between different areas of the country. And that's especially true with urban and rural demographics, where in Arkansas, as much as we like to think we're grown up, and we are, but Little Rock, by comparison, is a small town. And all we have in the state of Arkansas are small towns, and so we're decidedly rural. And why do I mention that? I mention that because we're up against some stellar numbers from those urban centers. And so when we talk about the legislation that takes place that affects Americans, many times we lose sight of the fact that it's just as much a battle between urban and rural interests as it is between political interests. And so we find those partnerships wherever we can, and we'll continue to do that. But the Farm Bill has been a tough hill to climb, and we did, I believe, a very exemplary work in the House Farm Bill, in that it was passed on a 35-11 vote. And that just shows that we can do some things in a bipartisan way in Washington. And the result of that Farm Bill, and particularly the chairman's mark, which was really a good effort, had an awful lot to do with our ability to articulate the positions geographically that are important, certainly Mid-South producers. And there's one person here that was critical and I want to acknowledge him. We lobbied very hard for the chairman of the House Ag Committee to come to Arkansas and do a Farm Bill field hearing, and to our knowledge, that's the only time we've ever had a Farm Bill field hearing in the state of Arkansas. So it was a big deal to get it. We had it at Arkansas State University in Jonesboro, and Mike Freeze, who is the president of the National Aquaculture Association, brought testimony on your behalf and did a great job, and in so doing made it easier for me and for those of us on the committee to advocate for the interests of aquaculture. So I just want to acknowledge the great work that Mike Freeze has done on your behalf as well. As Ted indicated, we're working very hard to address this ethanol issue. You know as well as anybody, the livestock industry and the aquaculture is no different. You've been adversely affected by the unintended consequences of a renewable fuel standard that doesn't take into account the fact that 45% of our corn crop is taken out of the food and feed chain and put into the fuel chain. That really puts pressure on you as aquaculture producers, and there are two measures that we've taken, as indicated by Ted earlier, so that we can aggressively address the ethanol issue as it pertains to the pressure it's putting on our livestock and our aquaculture industry. So I'm working hard on that as well. And then finally, I want to say a word thank you to Wayne Branton. You know, he catered a American Catfish Association dinner in Washington, but we weren't in session, so my whole staff got to go, and I didn't get to, but we did it last year, and he did a great job. He did it again this year, and unfortunately we weren't in session when that happened, so we're definitely not going to miss this deal, because we don't want to pass up an opportunity for a good catfish dinner. So I do want to thank you all for everything that you do, and to just remind you that we're doing everything that we can do to make sure that aquaculture producers have a strong voice in Washington. Thank you all so much.
Now I know how John L. Smith feels. Sorry about that. I forgot to recognize some people up here. I got shook up on my date there, so I do want to recognize Wayne Branton, president of Catfish Farmers of Arkansas.
And I did finish school at 65.
I did too. I did too. I wasn't going to tell it, but since you did, I will. Eric Park, president of the Bait Fish and Ornamental Fish Growers of Arkansas, and Bo Collins, executive director of the Catfish Farmers of Arkansas. So I think I've done everything I'm supposed to do, haven't I? Thanks.
Yes, you've done a lot.
Just a couple of quick announcements before we're adjourned today. Inside your program, you'll see the little insert that is a thank you to the sponsors of this meeting. And I want you guys to take a look at that and appreciate those who provided this wonderful meal for us today. Thank the Catfish Farmers of Arkansas for sponsoring this. I'd like to thank Merck Animal Health. Keisha's in the audience here. Thank you, Keisha, for that, and in situ also. Where's our in situ rep here? Thank you, and Arkansas Farm Bureau also made this possible. So thanks to all of those. As you know, every morning of field day, we have a trap shoot for those who are interested in showing off their skills, and we have two divisions. We have the producer division and then the rest of us, okay? And so in the producer division, the winner of this year's shotgun, which was graciously donated by the folks at the bottom of this pamphlet, and I'd like to thank Southern Aquaculture Supply, Joey Williamson, for putting up one of the shotguns, and Cajun Gold Catfish Processors for putting up the other one. Also, thank you to the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission for helping to run the show, and Remington Arms for putting up some of the supplies. So we really appreciate this. The winner of the producer division was Mr. James Saul. So why don't you stand up, James? All right. Nice shooting, Ted. The winner of the rest of us division is one of our graduate students. His name is Brandon Balmer. Brandon, are you here? Yeah. Balmer? That's what it's for. Anyway, Brandon takes home the other Remington 870. So thanks to our sponsors for the trap shoot.